First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Coach G. I don't know of any teacher that has not had a time during their career where they were either questioning themselves, they were feeling displaced, they were feeling overwhelmed, they were feeling, I'm done with this. And at the same time struggled with the idea or the fact that the work that they do or the assignment that they have been given is to be an educator. And it's a very hard assignment. It even makes me think a little of a person that might be a minister or police officer. Like when I think of a police officer, who in their right mind would get up, wash up, get dressed to possibly be um, put in a position of harm? And so it has to be some type of calling, some type of um, assignment that is really given to the one that makes a decision to be an educator. Now, I don't know if you're like me. I grew up always loving school. I always did well in school. I always participated in school activities. I was fortunate that my family circumstance allowed that, whether it be that my parent could pick me up or an older sibling could pick me up. And during those times, I felt like those were great formative years. Nothing's perfect during those times that we were growing up, but I really felt like I had the opportunity to have a childhood. And I love the idea of helping people. I love the idea of helping teach, helping inform, helping provide um, insight. And I'm sure many of you are just like that. And so, how do we get here? How do we get to the place like I was at my lowest point um, in my experience where I began to have a form of PTSD when I was going to work? When I was coming home, you know, I was distracted. I was overwhelmed, and I was trying to juggle these feelings that I had. And a lot of what made me stay was because of love. And in this month of February, it's so poignant to talk about love and its impact on us remaining in places that maybe we should reconsider. So I'll say this too, that many people nowadays, especially after the pandemic, you've probably seen um, these ideas of get out of education. You don't have to say the why, um, but in thinking about it, it reminds and connects me to the idea of, do you remember loving being a teacher, loving being a coach, loving coming to work, loving getting ready for a unit that you just enjoyed so much, loving when it was time to bring treats, loving the first day of school? Do you remember that? Those same thoughts of love are the kind of thoughts that keep us working in this profession. And it's that same kind of love that I have when I'm tending to my mom. It's that same kind of love that I have when I still love my spouse, because I know that that one little infraction is just a part of the greater love that we share. So, what am I saying? I'm really confessing that the love that I have for teaching, I really believe was strengthened in so many ways. And one of the ways was by the love that I have, I should say, the relationship that I have with God, there was just absolutely no way that I could do it. No way. Okay. And so then I began to think about, okay, that's one, my most important relationship. But then I began to do some study and think about, well, how else can this love relationship with this career, with this sometimes job that you have as a teacher that can really be challenging? And then I remembered in my study, there was also this part about loving your neighbor as you love yourself. And so then I was thinking about, well, how does that play in the life of the teacher? I can name them: Gina Stanley, Debbie Holder, um, Velvet Gibson. Um, I can name Nancy Houston and Barbara Odell, many people that were my neighbors at school. They were those people. Linda and I shared the same office. Debbie and I shared the same office. Gina and I, there are people that you go to work with. And I believe in this work as being a teacher, what we need to do is celebrate the community that we can build among one another. And that community it's a kind of neighborly love that we have with each other that help us carry through. Who are the people? Who are your neighbors at work or at when you were at school, at your current school, at your old school, that really um, help to carry you through? You can't do this work by yourself. And I believe and I know it's true. It's more likely that your time will be miserable longer than it is good if you attempt to do it alone. You cannot do it alone. So let me know. I know that I can name people from my first day of work at Madwoman Middle School, well over 20 years ago, that I still see as people who showed me love. And it's because of that love that it gave me one more day, and one more hour, one more cup of Joe, right? One more. I remember, you know, I had this terrible habit that I would go get a Coke after work every day. This went on probably for like 4 or 5 years, and the pounds was on me. I paid for that. But I remember one day I didn't have money, and somebody was like, I got you, Green-Hodnett. You know how that's the talk at school? I got you. I got you, Keisha. I got you, Linda. I got you. Like, that's pretty common in a school culture. That's sometimes created in a good school culture where you're loved, you're nurtured, you're shown, you're appreciated. And sometimes in one where it's not shown, but the people rally together, they come together, they rely on each other, they depend on each other. So I just wanted us to think about that. So I wrote some notes, y'all. I wrote some notes. And I wrote, why do we love our neighbor? And this could be the figurative neighbor. This could be the actual person whose class is next door, whose office is across the hall. But how do we love our neighbor? When this real love, it's not lovey dovey love. Y'all remember that song? Lovey dovey. Anyway, it's not that kind of love, but it's a love where you know that you know that you know you can rely on people. Sometimes it's a unanticipated love. Sometimes you might have started a relationship with a person, it was contentious, but over time, you learn to love that person. I know someone like that when I was instructional resource teacher and was charged with supporting the math team. And this particular teacher, she would be like, I have to come to your meetings. You can't send that in the email. It would be hilarious to me. I could have taken the posture of like, she's trouble, can't rely on her. She was an amazing teacher. And I came to learn that that was some of her prior life experiences as an educator, where she was likely in environments where it was contentious, people were catty, it was competition, and she felt hovered over in those experiences. So she was like, I'm trying to go to your meeting. Over time, that lady called me Mama G to this day. So it's me showing her love. I always in my work try to exemplify God's love. And in doing that, in those tough times when people would get on my nerves, in those tough times when it was being mean and surly, in those tough times when I really just didn't feel like it, the truth of the matter is it carried me through and allowed me to do what I was called to do. So, who's our neighbor? Everyone around us is our neighbor. And it's it's not overwhelming. It is what it is. The people who live across the street, that's your neighbor. But the people who are in the office next door, the person, when I go to work, there are these wonderful people who help to take care of the building every day. And I make it my business to say, good morning, how you doing? How was your holiday? Good to see you. Happy Monday. Whatever I could say, because if that helps that person have a better day, then it's no skin off my nose to just be kind. But that means they're going to take care of our place even better. That means they're going to feel seen. That means they're going to want to be part. And it's so, so very important. Build on strengths. None of us are perfect. This is why I was so glad I was reminded about the idea of the neighbor, because there's no titles in the neighbor. Like, I don't even know what well, I don't know what my neighbor who lives to my right did for work before she retired. I have no idea, but I still show her neighborly love. When her garage door's open, I'm like, your garage door's open. If I hadn't seen her in a minute, I'll text her. My neighbor across the street, who's an older woman, that's like my mama. Anything go down. If I see extra cars, I'm like, who's over there? That's the love. That's what I really loved in my study. That the idea of the neighbor, it doesn't have rank. The neighbor doesn't have clout one over the other. We're all on equal planes. So, how can I live with my neighbor? Um, I could show them hospitality. I can be kind. Um, People have gifts and talents, and I can acknowledge those. I could ask them for to I could ask them to use those gifts and talents in ways that the community, the school, or maybe a separate project I'm working on would be helpful. Um, in my speech, I could be neighborly in my speech. This sometimes is a hard one. You ever think about those people that you work with them, you know them, and you find that they sound harsh? And I've been that person. I've been that person that had the tone, the toot, the eye roll, like, I don't even know why you It's so funny now because it's funny because I kind of don't even I can't I try to do it, but I'm telling you, I used to be a person who did that, and it got stopped when I was young. I had a boss when I was in college, and that boss she told me on my evaluation, I had all these good ratings, and she basically said, "Too bad you have an attitude." I was like, what do you mean I have attitude? I don't understand what you're talking about. Maybe it's you. I don't. Oh, I do. I was doing all of that, and she was so kind to me. She broke it down and reminded me that all the good work could be missed if people can't get past the way I'm communicating. Now, some people will get into the idea of, is she being prejudiced? Is she being stereotypical? What she was being was my boss, number one. Because in an evaluation, that would be the place to tell me, not in the hallway, not as I'm in the parking lot. She told me right, and she changed my life. I always remember. About to get teary. So, and you know why I know? Because after I walked out of her meeting, I heard myself. I heard my tone. I heard what she was telling me was keeping me from really being the best I could be. So, how can we be neighborly with our speech? Um, we could be neighborly by working for the good of all. Many of you in your work, you are working collaboratively on projects, you're on teams, you are working on homecoming, you are working on projects, you're trying to get a group to nationals. In whatever capacity you're doing that work, please do it in a spirit of collaboration. Do it for the good of all. Do it thinking and considering your speech. And all of that is a form of showing love. Um, Start with something you have in common. When you meet people and you don't know them, and I'm going to get to the people, y'all. It's going to be like, you talking about all of this. How about those kids? I'll go here now. You know, this is my biggest concern in our community is the children. They children, y'all. Imagine um, a child telling you, 4 years old, you're not the boss of me. You're not gonna tell me. I'm saying imagine, cause I not never gonna be no elementary teacher. I'm gonna say blessings to you, elementary people. But what I will say is there are children that will listen when we pray and ask God to guide our speech and help us use it as a tool to transform that which is happening in our classes. It's not easy. It takes time. Um, but by showing love, by trying to help parents know that you're partners with them, thinking about the word choices you're using to help navigate change. So, the love I'm talking about, the love God gives me, the love that we want to show our neighbor, the student, the parent, the family, the teacher, the administrator, the principal, the school board people, the people whose dog poops on your yard every other day, even when you ask them not to, is to, if we each work to transform our speech and work in the places we can work. I'm not saying to do like I'm doing in China, go big and communicate this message of love to everybody. But what I can say is that I'm not hearing the message of love. So if we all took a minute and shared the message of love to others, so much more can happen in community. Even in this community I'm creating, people aren't talking, but I know from yesterday people are paying attention. I know from comments, from things people have said, questions I've gotten, but we can come together here in community, build each other up. We can come here in community and give each other the tools we need to make it. Because I know for some, it's hard to even get up out the bed. It's hard to even get dressed. It's hard to get the keys. It's hard to get out the house because you don't want to go. But I'm here to tell you from my experience that you don't have to be miserable forever. And this is going to be hard. You got to reflect. Are you contributing to it being miserable? And if you are, why? We could work on that too. Because the way I've been taught, you know, love is it's patient, it's love, it's kind. And if there's no more instructions than that. If you decided you were going to just do one of those things to transform things, you will see transformation. Example, when you're sick and you're not well, don't the kids settle down? They know when their teacher's sick. They say, shh, 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 shh. Miss So-and-so don't feel good, Mr. So-and-so. Come on, y'all, let's sit down. So imagine if instead of when they come in, you just look at them or just say, come on in here. You said, morning. Doesn't mean you have to change who you are entirely. Say, well, good morning. I used to say it every day. Good morning. Good morning. When I didn't feel like it, I'd see the little girl come down the hall who cussed me the day before. Morning, baby. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you had a good day? I don't want to say kill them with kindness, but show love. Think of your neighbor as yourself. So how do you want to be treated? Treat the other in that way. So I'm going to wrap up. Um, Pray fervently. Pray for this transformation that you want to happen in your heart, in the hearts of others, in your class, in your school, with your team, with your administrator, with them parents you've been emailing. It can happen. We can do it. Individually, do our part. Collectively, do our part. So I just want to let you know, I plan to be back next Saturday, to talk about love because it ain't over. Today, we talked about loving our neighbors. And I just reminded you, the scriptures say, love your neighbor as yourself. So I'm going to do my part to love that student, that parent, teacher, admin, like I deserve to be loved. So, hope you got something out of today. If you didn't get to watch live, then hopefully you'll get to watch on the playback in the group. And speaking of love, I would love to have you join us on our trip going to Punta Cana with the Punta Cana Takeover. Information is in the group. Please consider you deserve an opportunity to enjoy a full life. I always talk about that. And so the information's there. Um, Thanks for joining today. Be blessed. God bless. And remember, you're loved.